What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Earn It, Save and Invest It. In this video, I'm going to compare Rocket Lab to SpaceX. Rocket Lab is a public company that people are really starting to buy into, and SpaceX is going to be doing their IPO next year in 2026. And so I'm going to compare, SpaceX is not a public company, so I am going to just compare what we know of SpaceX to Rocket Lab and to see if Rocket Lab is overvalued, undervalued, is it a good investment, and should we be looking into SpaceX? Do we think SpaceX could be overvalued? So we're just going to quickly compare the two and see if Rocket Lab is a good investment at all today, and possibly if SpaceX would be a good investment for 2026. So if you can, please give it a like and subscribe, smash that button, and we're going to go through these space rocket companies as fast as we can. We're going to try to blast through it like they go through the atmosphere, right? So Rocket Lab we have at $76 basically, right? $76. Its earnings per share is at negative 19 cents, which means it is a not profitable company. Let me zoom in on this. Oh dear Lord. Never mind. It is not a profitable company, right? Its earnings per share is 19 cents, negative 19 cents. As you can see, the analysis are coming out. We have a mixed bag. We have hold, sell, hold out of the last few, and then we have buy, hold, buy, strong buy, right? That's all good, but I'm not going to judge my investments really based on all of them. We're going to go through the numbers. They've been a public company. Rocket Lab has been a public company since September of 2021, so we don't have too much data to go off of when in terms of their seasonality. But the beginning of the year, it does seem to have a little, rough patch, right? As you can see, these are all red months. I mean, March in the last 4 years, it has had no gains, no positive gains. So it does start off the year pretty rough. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about buying now. The company profile, I'll go over this really quick. If you don't know what Rocket Lab is, it's a space company. It provides launch services and space system solutions to the United States, Canada, Japan, internationally. The company provides launch services, spacecraft design services, spacecraft components. Basically, they are they manufacture small and medium class rockets. They are a rocket company. They do spacecraft, rockets, all of that stuff. In addition, the company designs and manufactures a range of components and subsystems for its launch vehicles and spacecraft. It serves commercial, aerospace, prime contractors, and government customers. Rocket Lab Corporation is founded in 2006 and headquartered in Long Beach, California. Has 2,100 employees, and there's a phone number. The revenue, as you can see, has been, it's been a company since 2006, right? But the space, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank right now, right? The space industry has been booming, and so has their earnings, right? As you can see, their revenue has been going up and up and up. This is obviously estimated, and same with December. They have not announced their Q4 yet. The earnings per share has kind of steadily been this, since about not last year, as we just went into 2026, but quarter 3 of 2024, it hasn't really done much. Now, this latest quarter, they did surprise a lot more than the other ones, but let's see what they do on these next two earnings. Earnings estimate year over year, they expect them to become profitable by 2027. The year over year, they expect a 20% in 2025 and over the whole year, and then 38% over this next year in 2026. And the PE, like I said, right now, because they are at a negative, right, they're at negative 19. In order to get their price, $76, you have to multiply it by negative basically 400. So they're at a very high PE. They are at a high PE. You got to keep that in mind, right? The valuation is a C minus, right? Now, again, they're not profitable, so we're not going to see this. So you can look at the price per EV to sales, and it's 72, which is kind of high growth. Revenue, 52% year over year. That's obviously good. But the profitability, you have your gross profit margin at 31, but your net profit margin at negative 35. So they are still losing money. Capital structure at 40 billion, total debt 516, cash 976. So they're okay in terms of their total debt to cash, right? They could just wipe away their debt and they'd be okay. Insider selling and buying, this is one thing I'm going to talk about a little bit later, break it down, but they did have the CEO, founder, chairman, president, and CEO sell a total of 5 million shares in mid-December for a total of, what is that, 280 million basically. He cashed out a lot. Now, I'm going to break down exactly why that happened, but just know that that happened. That also brought down a lot of this, when he owned it, it was, individuals and insiders. That was, he sold 5 million shares. Now, common stock is about 6.29. I mean, he almost sold half of the insiders' share, right? So, or the individuals, right? So, of people who used to work there, then maybe left, but still held on. It has a 7.72% short interest, right? So there's about 41 million shares that are shorted right now on it. So, it's kind of shorted. And then we have some of this stuff, the income statement, balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. I'll break it down a little bit more specifically, but I guess we'll look at it the trailing 12 months, 554 million. Gross profit 175, but the net income is negative 197. So they're still losing money, obviously, right? Balance, total cash 976, total debt 516. We went over this, right? And the cash flow from operations 103, cash from investing minus 261. They're not doing good in terms of cash flow, but again, we're going to break this down. I'm going to show you some very good specifics about that. So that's Rocket Lab. Now let's look at SpaceX, right? SpaceX is moving forward, values that Elon Musk rocket and satellite maker at about 800 billion. Let me zoom in on this. 800 billion, right? Setting up what could be the largest initial public offering of all time. So SpaceX is preparing for a possible public offering in 2026 at about 800 billion, right? So we have to keep that in mind, that, SpaceX is 800 billion and it's going to be going at some point in 2026. So we can think about Rocket Lab. Okay, are their numbers anywhere close to what SpaceX is? And should we be comparing the two in terms of value? Should we even be thinking about that, right? Because Rocket Lab is 40 billion. They're going for 80 billion. You're talking 20 times more, right? So what's the big difference, right? So Rocket Lab was awarded 816 million contract, a contract worth 816 million to build missile for U.S. Space Force. Here we go, blah, 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 space development to design 18 satellites for the Tracking Layer Tranche 3 program under the Proliferated Warfighter Space Architecture. The award was Rocket Lab's largest single contract to date and underscores its growing reputation as a trusted prime in national security space. Under the 816 million contract, it will deliver satellites equipped with advanced missile warning, tracking, defense sensors to provide global persistent detecting and tracking of emerging missile threats, including hypersonic systems. The award includes 806 million base contract plus up to $10 million in options. So, the 816 million they just got, that was big. When we start looking at their revenues and all of that, you're going to see how big that is. It's bigger than their whole year revenue, right? What they just got in this one contract. But this contract is not going to just be paid out right now. It's not, oh, here's 860. It gets stretched out over a few years. So we do have to keep that in mind. It's not all of a sudden just boom, they get 816, right? So let's look at SpaceX. What has SpaceX done over the last 5 years? I just wanted to see what kind of contracts they have gotten, right? Primarily they've gotten most of their contracts through NASA and with the U.S. Space Force for national security space launches, winning the majority of missions in recent rounds, about 100 million, just under 100 million per launch, alongside significant funding for scientific missions. These deals totaling billions solidify SpaceX's dominance for high energy and national security orbits. Recent awards in late 2025 and 2026, solidifying their role for years to come. So let's see exactly what they did. Secured majority of missions, around 5 out of the 7 in late 2025 for high priority national security satellites, valued at hundreds of millions for dozens of launches through 2029. So again, we have to keep in mind these things happen over a long period of time. So when you hear 816 million, people are getting really excited, but that's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. And if that's their biggest contract, that means it's going to take a lot of their manpower. It's going to take a lot of things. So just always keeping that in mind. With some awards totaling around 5.9 billion for 28 missions. Now again, you have to think about 816 million compared to 5.9 billion, right? So SpaceX is definitely making more, but is it 20 times more? Not really, right? We don't, at least for this one, right? But let's just keep going and see what else SpaceX does. These contracts reinforce SpaceX's role. Yes, we all know. 2021, 2022, they were awarded SpaceX in billions in extensions to transport astronauts and cargo to the ISS, extending a partnership through 2030 for over a dozen missions, bringing the total contract value to nearly $5 billion. 255 million deal to launch Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope 2027. The financial scale consistently received billions in government contracts annually, with estimates suggesting over $2 billion annually from 2021 to 2024, and a significant portion of the $5.9 billion awarded. The key takeaway in the last 5 years has significantly expanded its government portfolio, becoming the primary launch provider for U.S., leveraging its reusable Falcon rockets. So as you can see, SpaceX does a lot more. It does a lot more, but it's not doing 20 times more than Rocket Lab. So, okay, so let's just, we want to keep that in mind. But there's some other stuff, that I'll show you right now. Now, Rocket Lab completes 21 launches in 2025 with a 100% success rate, including IQPS mission. So they successfully launched its 21st Electron rocket of the year to deploy a latest satellite to space for multi-launch customer institute. So here we go. Join by Constellation providing. So let's just focus on the real thing at hand right here. They did 21 successful launches in 2025 with a 100% rate, right? That's great. So what did SpaceX do, right? How much did SpaceX do? Well, exceptionally busy year in 2025, shattering records with placing the launches of between 167 and 170. That is a lot. That's a lot more. Now, that is not 20 times more. It's not even 10 times more. But that is still a lot more. And so we have to just keep that in mind. With around 125 to 129 being Falcon 9 heavy flights. Showing unprecedented launch cadence driven by reusable rockets. So they are just continuing to use the same rocket, and that's saving them a lot of money, right? Now, again, I guess that's kind of the big one, is how much money are they making, right? But we'll get into that soon. Total launches around 170 or more. The Falcon 9, approximately 125 to 129, which is crazy. Starship included about 4 orbital test flights. Record cadence. SpaceX achieved a launch roughly every other day. And the reusable tech, the ability to reuse boosters multiple times, pushing limits to 32 flights on a single booster, which enables this frequency. Obviously, that is a pretty big deal. When you're able to reuse all your materials and your inventory and all that stuff, and not have to spend a ridiculous, because they spend so much money on these pieces, right? So if you can just reuse it, I mean, wow, that is crazy, right? So that's one thing that SpaceX has on it. Now, quickly, just to go through Rocket Lab, what they're doing, right? Of course, the record revenue, it's been the most. They're continuing to go up, the largest launch backlog ever. They have 49 launches on contract, with 17 of those signed in Q3 2025. This was before this was the Q3, so they had 16 success launches by that time. Obviously, they had 21 by the end of the year, but as you can see, that's only a 5 launches between Q3 and the end of the year, basically. So not nearly as much as SpaceX. Escapade ready for Mars launch. I'm going to go over that really quick, actually. It's a spacecraft that it's right here is based from Rocket Labs, right? Their business and their company. And it's just basically going to go to Mars. And it's set to be, it did launch in 2025. And so it's doing well. It's going around Mars, and that's what they did. It's nothing too crazy, but that is one big thing that they did. And then they launched the Complex 3 that opened up, so they're able to launch their rocket from there. Consistent execution, revenue growth, and gross margin growth. Again, I will go over their finances here in a second about exactly how much they are making. Here we go. Again, they're quarter for launch contract, record-breaking quarter for launch contracts. 56% year-over growth in their backlog. Now, granted, it's good to have the good backlog because you know you're going to have some business in the back end, but you don't want to have too much because eventually you're going to say, well, hey, what's going on? Like, we need to be able to launch, right? If you can only have 5 launches in a quarter, and SpaceX is doing one every other day, it's a little hard to compete with that, right? Back-to-back launches with 100% mission successes. 2 HASTE launches in 8 days. This is their another rocket that they have. Electron. So these are just the different rockets that they have, obviously, right? So on track for new annual launch record. 4 launches completed in Q3 of 2025 with 100% mission success. On target for 20 plus launches by the end of the year, which they hit 21. Acquisition, they bought some of these companies, not going to break it down too much. And then Mars Ready, they launched that. Constellations, blah, 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 boom, boom. All right, here we go. Now we're going into like rocket science, right? We're not here for rocket science. We're here for financials, right? So here's some of their financials. Now, I'll be honest, here's their backlog. I'm going to go over their financials in this way because it just feels like it just goes better. Now, we have their revenues, and as you can see, their revenues are continuing to go up, right? You can see they started at 35 million was their lowest in 2020. Then they continued 62 million, 211 million, 244, 436, now 554. Obviously, they just signed a deal for 800 plus million, but that will be over a few years. But they obviously have to, pay money to get that revenue. So the cost of revenue is 378. So the gross profit was 175. The SG&A, right, selling general and admin expenses, plus their R&D and other operating expenses, all totaled up. And so that went against them. And so now their operating income is 229. As you can see, the earnings from continuing operation is 197. This is, let me break it down. The net income, right, is at 197. Now that's how much they're essentially making. That's their profit, right? 197. So they're losing 197 million for this last trailing 12 months. If you look at, they have continued to lose and lose more and more and more and more, right? They started losing 55 million. What year was this? 2020. Then it was 117, 135, 182, 190, 197. Obviously, the rate at which it's going up has gone down, right? This went up from 35 to 82. That's almost 50 million in that year, but then it only went 8 million, and now it's only going up 7 million. So clearly, they are, the fact that their profits are going negative into the negative and more negative, it's hopefully slowing down and hopefully it can come back. But the point is, when will that happen, right? I want to know if they're profit or not. Or I want to invest in a profitable company. I know they're not profitable. And then so here's, they have basic weighted out, so they have 512 million shares outstanding right now. So that's their financials. Obviously not great. They're not making profit. They make revenue. They make a lot of money, but they're not making a profit yet. So, and who knows when they will. So let's go over their balance sheet. And if you remember, their balance sheet was okay, right? They have their total assets right here. We have, where is their cash and cash equivalents? 807 million. Let's go to their total assets. It's about 2.2 billion. And their total liabilities is about 940 million. So they have a total equity of about 1.2 from assets to liability, which is always good. That we always like to see. So that's good, right? I like that about their balance sheet. That is at least good. Cash flow. Now we know that they lose 197 million a year. Now exactly what's going on with that and the cash flow and how is this all working, right? So we have the cash from operations, and we can go through all of these very specifically, but I'm not going to. There's one that I really want to show. CapEx, right? Capital expenditure. This is like what they're doing for R&D and stuff, and when they're buying other companies and doing all of that, right? That's continuing to go up tremendously. That is going up a lot. Same with cash acquisitions, right? When you're buying a company. So all of this went up tremendously. Now, this CapEx is probably not going to go down. Cash acquisitions I could see going reverse, or not reverse, but at least significantly better the next quarter or next year, right? But the cash from investing, they've gone down negative 261. And then we have over here cash from financing. Now you look at this, you're like, oh look, 881 million that they got cash from financing. So their net change in cash, when you compare the cash from investing, which is negative 261, from the cash from financing, 881, you look at their cash flow, net change in cash, and you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. Hey, they made 500, I mean, look at these other years, right? 638 million over in 2021, but negative 446 in cash flow, in 2022, negative 79, and then they were up 108 last year, but the trailing 12 months, that's significant. That's such a good, what happened? Well, as you can see here, right, 638, 515, the biggest numbers that they have. Well, issuance of common stock. They put out more stock. They put out $979 million worth of stock out there. And the same thing in 2021, they put $731 million out there in the stock. So they definitely were, they were selling a lot of their stock. Now, these other, they're still repurchasing some of their stock as well, but not nearly to the rate as they're issuing it, right? Because they need to come up with the cash. So, cool, right? They're having cash, but what's happening is they are diluting shareholder value. And when that CEO, you have to keep this in mind too, that CEO who sold $5 million, 5 million shares, which actually, let's go through that right now. Peter Beck, the CEO of Rocket Lab, has recently sold a significant number of shares totaling 141, it was more than that, right? Over 2 days, prearranged. It was a prearranged trading plan. These transactions were disclosed in filings with the SEC. Beck sold between 15th and 16th, sold a total of approximately 2.5 million shares. Now, for some reason, I have no idea did this not show. This is not showing the other one, right? He actually did it twice. He did it twice. Let's quickly look. I'm almost 100% sure it was the 15 and 17. He did, yeah, so 15 and 17. So why Google did not put that in? It's 15 and 16 for a total of 2.5 million, but then he did it again. He sold 2.5 million again. He doubled down on that, but it was prearranged. It was just supposed to happen. And so the ownership changes. It's represented significant reduction in his direct ownership stake. And the reason for sale, insiders selling does not necessarily indicate a lack of confidence. The recent sale were executed under a pre-established trading plan. This rule, which was a trading plan, which allows insiders to sell shares at a predetermined times to avoid accusations of insider trading. So he already had this planned out that he was going to do it. I don't know exactly when he established this plan, but the point is he did not sell it because he just thought the company was going to go under, or he doesn't believe in it anymore, right? But here's also something to think about. All of those shares now are not being held. They're being traded, right? That adds volatility to it. It was 5 million shares, but they had a total of, let's see how many, 534. So we're talking maybe just slightly under 1% of the shares back out there that were not being held. But that could be a big deal, right? 1% of a company like this, that could be, it's very volatile, and now shares are not being held. That's 1% of a company that was just being held, right? The guy wasn't doing anything with them. He was just going to hold on to them, and now they're just out there. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's just something I saw. It kind of caught my attention a little bit. So now where am I? Okay, so the next company, or the next big question, right? Because we're actually looking at all their finances. Is SpaceX profitable? Well, yes. SpaceX is reportedly profitable, driven by its dominant launch services and rapidly growing Starlink satellite internet constellation. Though profit figures vary by reporting source and time frame, with some estimates suggesting significant earnings by 2023-2024 and positive free cash flow from Starlink alone. That's a big deal. They have positive free cash flow just from Starlink, right? We're looking at how they're having to sell shares, right? Rocket Lab selling shares and doing all, like, I mean, SpaceX is making money hand over fist in a way, because they already have these things in progress that are making them money. So that's crazy, but we're going to keep going. While traditional Falcon 9 launches were once costly, increased efficiency, Starlink subscriptions, and military contracts contribute to overall profitability despite heavy reinvestment into Starship development. The broadband internet, Starlink, the broadband internet service is a major revenue and profit source, with projections of billions in revenue and hundreds of millions in free cash flow by 2024 and 2025. I mean, we're obviously going to see the actual numbers. We'll see the numbers when they come out. But if you're talking positive free cash flow in the hundreds of millions just from one part of your service, that's a big difference. That's a huge difference in Rocket Lab. SpaceX's frequent, cost-effective launches for NASA, military, and commercial customers provide substantial revenue. And then Starship, a growing defense business, also contributes to income. Reported profitability trends, 2023-2024. Reports indicated revenues nearing $8.7 billion and profits potentially reaching $3 billion in 2023, with continued growth in 2024. Read that. Profits, now, are these net or gross? But that they're making way more than what Rocket Lab is, right? Now, is it 20 times more? No, but they're making more, and they're a lot more efficient. Overall shift, the company has transitioned from net losses, like $501 million. They lost $501 million in 2019 to overall profitability, largely thanks to Starlink's expansion. So we can look at the two, right? We got Rocket Lab on one, SpaceX on the other. If you had to say, look, you have $100,000 and you had to invest in one of them, I'm going to SpaceX. I don't know exactly what the PE is. I don't know what the price to earnings, right, because it's not out yet. I don't know what it's going to be. But if you just said, look, IPO, you're buying at the IPO, you're buying Rocket Lab right now, I'm buying SpaceX at the IPO. This does not mean that Rocket Lab is not going to be a good investment over the long run. I don't know how much it's going to be a good investment right now. The first few months, as you saw, are really negative when it comes to Rocket Lab. So it's possible that it just kind of takes a downturn. And then when people start talking about SpaceX coming back in the IPO, then maybe it starts to boom up again, right? In the second to third quarter of the year, people start talking about it, and then it comes up. We'll also have to see, let me check really quick when they're going to announce their earnings. Their earnings are, next earnings, February 27th. So they still have a while, almost 2 months, right? It's the beginning of January, so about a month and 3 weeks, so almost 2 months. And so, what's going to happen over this next 1 month and 3 weeks, right? We've seen the boost, right? They got their big contract. Now, are they going to have any big news to go by, or are they just, but again, I'm also I'm a long-term investor. I like to think about something that will be good for 5 to 10 years from now. Rocket Lab right now does seem to be one of the leaders in space rockets and, you know, being a space company. I'm having a lot of brain farts today, sorry. But Rocket Lab definitely seems to be a good space company. Their numbers are not the best. They're growing. They're definitely growing in certain departments. The actual net income, like the actual profit, that's where you get the real meat. It's not there yet. But just like SpaceX, right? It was, you know, said lost 501 million in 2019, and now they're profitable. But that is because they have Starlink. They have like a subscription. They have, you know, they're definitely ahead, way ahead of Rocket Lab. So again, if you had to, you know, if you had me to choose between one or the other, I'm going SpaceX. But I don't think Rocket Lab is necessarily a bad investment, but I do think it might be oversold right now. I actually do quickly want to go over the chart of Rocket Lab. I did forget to do that. And as you can see, it's gone up significantly just in December, right? December, it was at 41, and now it's at 75. So I definitely think it's overbought, and it can definitely do one of these again. It can definitely come down and crash back down to these levels. As you can see, a year ago, it was in the mid-20s. But if I zoom out just a little bit more, you'll see that no, right here in 2024, November 2024, just about a year, 2 months ago, this thing caught fire. Boom, it boosted up all the way to the low 30s, all the way from 10 to the low 30s, and then it went back down to $16, $17. And then it's just been running since then, right? And as you can see here, it came out here. I can almost guarantee it was a SPAC. At that time, you can see around $10. I remember the SPACs, that kind of ruined me at some point. But yeah, here it goes, and boom, it's like, oh, hey, this is what it's going to be. And then they realize, okay, there's no money, there's no profits, there's nothing going on. And I remember actually looking at this. There was, Virgin Galactic. There's these other couple of these companies, but yeah, it's just been bouncing around. All of these, you know, it has a few little bumps here where it went up to 8 and then it comes down, and then just right here where it really started to get, okay, here's some of the revenue, here's, you know, the numbers are really starting to come in. But isn't it funny how they're literally missing their earnings? 1, 2, 3, 4 earnings misses in a row, and it's continuing to go up. Now, if your growth is still going up, right? Like they barely missed on the earnings, right? But if their earnings are growing and their earnings are going up, that's the point, right? But again, I do believe that this thing is a little overbought. This thing is shooting a little bit too much, but that doesn't mean anything. Honestly, let's look at Palantir. Let's look at this thing in Palantir, right? Well, watch. We'll compare this thing to Palantir. Palantir is a very similar type of volatile stock like this. And look, this thing outbeat Palantir, let's say over the last year. It's beaten Palantir. Rocket Lab's up 198%. Palantir's up 123%. So Rocket Lab is up over Palantir. Even... Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's beaten Palantir for almost every time frame. You know, you look at that, Rocket Lab has performed better than Palantir. That's pretty crazy to think about, right? You know, when we look at Palantir's numbers, Palantir has better numbers. Palantir has way better numbers than this. They do. So, you know, now Palantir is also valued way higher than Rocket Lab. But their stock performance, right? You know, is Rocket Lab really worth this kind of performance in stock? Is it really worth this valuation for the company? I do believe 2026 is going to bring even more volatility to the stock because of SpaceX. With SpaceX being here, everyone's going to be talking about the space companies and all that. So that's just my 2 cents. SpaceX versus Rocket Lab versus SpaceX, however you want to put it, however you want to see it, however you want to launch your rocket. It's all up to you. Anyway, that's the end of this. What is this? 35 minutes. All right. Anyway, if you like this stuff and if you did enjoy this and if you're still at all watching, please give a like and subscribe. Smash it. I'm trying to get this channel going and rocketing just like the companies I just talked about. That was so stupid, right? Stupid pun. But anyways, I really do hope anybody that did watch this and enjoyed it. I took some time to really kind of break it down, and first before I did this, and kind of understand it. And I hope I was able to help someone else understand Rocket Lab versus SpaceX, kind of on a general platform in a way. So anyway, yeah. Thank you for watching. Never be scared. Just be prepared, and never forget to earn it, save it, invest it. Buy low, sell high. I want assets, not liabilities, and you can count on compounded interest.